which is just one question, so you don't need to worry about two parts for this one. But essentially, it's what's next for you. You've talked about a lot of different things that you're doing in your life. Not only like the extracurricular stuff that you're doing with your degree, but also your degree, you're working, you've got a YouTube channel. So yeah, we just want to know what's next for you. Can we expect more videos in the coming weeks of this episode? Will we hear of a famous content creator Curtis? Going out there doing amazing things. We just want to know like what's next for you. Yeah.
That is a very good question. I have not thought a lot about that. I think for me, ideally, it would just be to be consistent with the channel, even just working a job, which I think can get a bit crazy if you want to have a decent social life and then you want to work a job and then maybe you want to do a bunch of other things, and you know how life is. Things happen, you meet people, family, obviously, and then you can even have situations where accidents, failure, as you mentioned. But I think for me, I just want to continue this channel. That's all. Because even if things don't go according to plan and go up that path, of success, I still want to be able to do something just with it, because that's, I think, just as an experience itself, that alone is still something that can really help me. So, and obviously just even help others. I'm thinking more of my own maturity, but just even anyone else who might look at it. So, yeah, that's it really. I'm not really too sure, but I know I've got I guess that's just for the channel, but I guess I can talk about some other things. I say in terms of, I guess, my studies, university itself, I'm not going to do a master's. That's not something I'm planning to do. I just feel like as long as I do well in my undergrad degree, I'm going to have those options. I'm going to have what I wanted out of it. And I'm not pursuing to like go far with any particular research. So I feel satisfied in that aspect. As for, I guess, like friends and contacts from uni, I'm not sure what I'll do in terms of meeting people, but I'm just hoping now that I can just stay in touch with people. I've met some great people on my course. Some will graduate sooner than me. Some may not. Some may even leave the course. I have no idea. But I just want to ultimately make the most out of this, get the most out of this experience. So I say that's it for university and like the social life aspect of it and students. I'd say in regards to other things, well, I wouldn't say I have many other goals, to be honest. I feel like for me, the channel is the main things, because the thing is, I've already tried so much at uni. I've already done so many things. Like I've already done so many sports. I feel like I've met so many people, even through my church group. I've met so many people and just been very like happy with that. Now I think it's just a matter of like how close you get with those people that you meet, really, and staying in touch with those people. Because like you don't have to have, I guess you don't even necessarily have to have a big plan, and think, oh, I'm going to conquer the world and sail the seas and become a pirate. So I'm just trying to take it as it comes. I think what I've learned is going to help me to adopt that same mindset and just build a mindset for future. And I guess if better opportunities come my way, then the maturity that I had developed is going to help me to take that on and do even better with those opportunities that come. So like, I just want to utilize what I've gained and be able to share that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I think it's very true. I think first off, thank you for your honesty. I don't think, um, I don't think anyone should feel like they have to have like a master plan of like, especially, after just, finishing your first year and going to second year, there's definitely no need for you to feel like you have to have everything sorted or you have to know exactly like what you want to do and stuff.
Can I actually just add on top
Yeah,
of that?
no, go ahead.
I think another thing that we see that emphasizes that is sometimes when you look on LinkedIn and then you see a bunch of other students' profiles and you see some guys gone to some big Russell Group uni and they've maybe, if they got lucky, they got into some big company like internship or apprenticeship thing, something like that. And then you're like, whoa, I'm like how like this, whoa. You know what I mean? You can't be comparing yourself to other people because there's so many factors that play into how people are the way they are. Like sometimes it's not just about having grades and getting a degree. It's not about the numbers. Like people will use that in terms of like interviewing you and maybe getting your foot in the door. But if you can get yourself out there and just up online, look at certain celebrities now, you'll hear about different come up stories people have where they haven't come from the most privileged background, but they've still made something of themselves. And you can say that's kind of luck and things like that. But the point being like there are lots of ways to like do things and put yourself out there and use your skills, but you just gotta like focus on the right kind of track. Not no Don't be like judgmental and things like that. Don't just think about grades because even now, like I know people who on my course they're doing well, they got the grades, they didn't repeat like me, but then there are different areas of their character that they could be more developed in if they took the time out to do the sports and extracurricular activity that would build that kind of character. So like there's so much more to see in life. And I think once you see that, and then once you find good things in life, then it won't matter if you have some big goal or some big dream or whatever, because you'll find your own ways to like be happy with that purpose.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, like we said, there's no better way than describing that everyone's on their own journey. You don't need to seek, like we said before, about comparing yourselves. Yeah, I definitely think that's true. That like sometimes, not even just like LinkedIn, though. I feel like social media in general can just like put you in the lulls of, you know, you see like I think especially like what you said, like when it's like someone you went to school with or it can, even if it's a random person or someone that and you're seeing them have success and you might not necessarily be having that same level of success in your own life. You're sort of just like, oh gosh, man, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, but it's kind of like what you said, that it's not about comparing yourself to others or like doing what someone else is doing or being at the same place that they are. It's about seeing that your life essentially is a journey, and whether or not you are like essentially where you want to be, you can decide on like that. So if you feel like, like what we said before, if you want to start you want to produce content, you want to start a YouTube channel, you want to start a podcast, like whatever you want to do, like you can go out there and just do it. And whether or not it works or not, there are lessons that you can learn. And it's not essentially like focusing on the fact that others are more or less successful than you. You're focusing more on, actually, I'm enjoying whether or not I'm enjoying what I'm doing, because that's ultimately the most important thing. But I think also, like what you said, I think especially when it comes to I think when you mentioned LinkedIn, I didn't really, like when you said it, I was just like, to be honest, even probably myself, I've probably done the same thing of comparing myself to others on LinkedIn, but not really thought too much about it. Because I feel like what we were saying before, that when it comes to comparison, people mostly think about like Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or basically like main social media stuff, and not necessarily stuff towards career. But no, that's 100% true. And I feel like sometimes, people feel like, oh my gosh, this person, like what you're saying, at university, this person's like, I don't know, like been in loads of societies, on loads of committees, you know, they were a student rep, they won this competition while at uni, da, da, da. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I didn't do any of that. And it's kind of like what you said, that you don't need to do like a lot, but you can do simple things, like you said, like whether it's joining societies. We had an episode on societies and like why it's important to do that, and it highlighted the need of like networking and meeting new people, but also like building up a support network for yourself as well. You know, we've got an episode. It's not out at the moment of recording, but it will be out by the time the episode comes out, on like the importance of overall networking and like why LinkedIn is really good for that. And it's like you know, LinkedIn is a resource that gives you the opportunity to like message individuals who are at places that you want to be in your career and just be like, hi, I saw on your profile that you are a gaming developer. I've always loved games. I would love to work for a company like yours. Please, like, I'd love to connect with you so I can just, you know, have the opportunity to speak to you, if you could mentor me, type of thing. And to be honest, you know, most of the time you might not necessarily get a response. Sometimes you might get a response and it might be a no. But but sometimes you will get a response and it's a yes. And it's just about like putting yourself out there, trying out these new opportunities, not necessarily like limiting yourself to, you know, I guess like feeling like we were saying before about this comparison. You know, don't fall in that trap. Just, you know, if you see an opportunity, go for it, because you never know. You never know what can come out of it. So I know even some people were saying that. I mean, I'm not obviously like I understand that if financial commitments are a thing, you might not necessarily be able to like sign up for a free, you know, like to sign up for an experience where you don't get paid, or like an unpaid placement or whatever, or an unpaid job while you're studying. But it's more about like just being like, you know what, actually I'm gonna try and see this opportunity. So you might see like a job application, or you might see, you know, a post about that you can apply to be this role as a volunteer or whatever, and you know, just try those, because those are things that, you know, like what Cursor was saying about the most important thing about your CV isn't always like, you know, what you studied, or like where you studied, or like what you did while studying. But yeah, essentially what I was trying to say is that it's very important for people to know the opportunities that are available to them, and feel free to like go and try out these opportunities, because you never know what's going to happen. And, you know, at most you get a no, but if you get a yes, that can really change your life. So always try new opportunities.
So if you just look up non-toxic on YouTube, it's so it's non-dash toxic, or you can just type it without the dash and it should still come up. And then if you just look in the videos, I think I do put my email there. I have an email, a business email, so you can have a look at that email, or you can just make a comment in any of the videos if you like, or about what you want to do, and that works fine. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I guess just firstly, does anybody ask you questions about like your life, your reason? Because, you know, you've asked me a lot of questions. You've probably had a couple people on here. Did that happen much? Or
yeah. So
kind of stuff.
So for our main series, we have a question segment called "Passing the Mic." So we virtually pass the mic over to our guest speakers, and they usually ask us questions. So we've had questions like, you know, why did you start the podcast? Where do you see it going? We've had some random questions too. So like, what's my favorite drink to order, or like what's my favorite like, I guess, what's a fun fact that nobody else knows but I know, type thing. So yeah, you're more than welcome, if you want to ask me a question before we end the episode, to ask a question.
Okay, let me think of a good question. Yeah, I guess mine would be on why you started the channel, but also I guess just about yourself and like your future plans, because I guess you're a content creator of some sort, right? But you may not, but I don't know how that's necessarily going to fit in with things in future. You may have other things you do, like some people, they do stuff on like maybe Fiverr. You know, you may have different certain career path plans that are like completely different to the course you're studying. some people change things up, like that stuff happens. But like, so that's the question. Like, why did you start the channel, and what do you see happening, like in terms of your future? Um,
Yeah, no, very good question. So yeah, like I mentioned, I won't go into too much detail about, I guess, why I started, or like why as a team we started to pick up the mic, because I know, like I said, we mentioned it in previous episodes. But yeah, so essentially the short version of it is, in 2020, 2020, they were doing the union elections at Brunel, and I wanted to be the BME officer at Brunel. So I was doing, obviously, because at that time everything was like a mix of like online, in person. That was when we had the whole like tier system. So like certain boroughs in London, you were allowed to like, go and do stuff in person, and sometimes you couldn't. So essentially the union were just like, you can't really campaign in person, or you can, but you have to book. And I was just like, well, I'm not living on campus anyways, so I will just campaign online. And just message group chats, message individuals in group chats that I was in, message societies and stuff like that. And essentially, one of the things that sort of like stood out to me from like messaging like individuals was that a lot of people like didn't know about the resources that was available to them. So like one of the things that was on my manifesto was I wanted like a heavier focus on placements. Not necessarily to say that like, if you don't do a placement, you're going to have like a bad time getting a job after uni, but it was more like encouraging students to see that there's like a wide variety of placements available to them. So whether they apply through Brunel, whether they apply through LinkedIn or other like job like search engines that they can look for jobs, I was just like, a lot of students don't know that like Brunel, for example, has through the because all these different enterprise things, you have to remember the names. Brunel's Entrepreneur Hub allows you to basically like work towards starting a business. And they run competitions that can give you funding for your business. They have an incubator program where you can speak to people who specialize in certain things and ask them for their support and help. And yeah, a lot of students didn't know that. A lot of students didn't know that like there's the PDC, so the Professional Development Center, that can read through your CV and help you with job interviews and like doing all this prep. And a lot of people didn't know that, and I was surprised because in my first and second year I worked with the PDC quite a bit, and they spoke about the different competitions that you could get funding for if you wanted to start a business. So I was always surprised when like I told people this, and they were just like, I didn't know that Brunel did this. And I was just like, if this is at Brunel, then how many people like maybe like at other universities don't know about like resources available to them? And not even just to like help them career wise, like even like mental health services. One of the people on the team, Samuel, he worked with the university, and he was saying that there were students that didn't know about like the student wellbeing team that they can go to if they need support with their mental health. They didn't know of like online resources. So like whether it's one charity and organization we talk a lot about is Mind to Mind. I personally love because they do a lot of resources towards not only as an individual, but also like a business. So if you're a manager, how could you, so like, especially during lockdown, they did a lot of stuff. So as a manager, like how can you ensure that your employees are like feeling motivated, or how are you sure that how can you look after their mental health? Because obviously, when you're in the office, it's a lot easier to see these things, but if you're just doing like online calls and not everyone's cameras on, it's a bit hard. So yeah, they offered a lot of resources, but yeah, I just felt like not a lot of people might have known that. So myself, Samuel and Anushka, or myself, I went over to Samuel and Anushka and I was just like, hey, wouldn't it be good if there was like a platform, not necessarily like one where they put all the resources together and they like conclude links, but I was just like, if they just had discussions with people about certain topics that students might feel like isn't really being discussed, what if they offered advice to students, but not just like generic, if you're interested in studying this is what you should do, but they actually got like people who have been through that and who didn't or did have the support that they needed, getting their information. And finally, I've always said that one thing I feel like every student should feel after they graduate is that they should feel that they've received like the information and the stuff needed to help them get a job afterwards. So I was just like, wouldn't it be good if students knew that of the different like opportunities or the career paths for them? So yeah, essentially I just started the podcast from that, and it's been over a year since March this year since it started, so it's been a really good journey. Looking to like future, so kind of like what you were saying of obviously, so for my undergraduate, I did environmental sciences, and for my master's, I'm doing sustainability, entrepreneurship, and design. So not necessarily anything really primarily to do with content creation. But one of the things that I've always liked during my degree was essentially like the human element. So what I meant by that is, or what I mean by that, sorry, is that when it comes to certain like, I guess, scientific topics or like stuff like climate change, like we released an episode about this a couple of weeks ago, but it was all about like the miscommunication that can sometimes occur between like the science community and the general public. Because sometimes the general public might feel like, actually, we're not, like, we don't understand what you're saying because of certain words you're using, or you're not making it interesting. Like I literally listened to a podcast, to a TED Talk podcast today, and they were, the person there was just talking about like how hip hop can be used to make climate action like really can essentially help to raise awareness on climate action. And they were saying that, I can give you a talk about like how the earth is warming, the percentage each year, all of this, but you like as the general public might just see this and be like, a minute into it and just like, this is boring, I'm gonna leave. But the person was saying that wouldn't it be better if you made it in a way that's engaging to the audience? So whether that's through music, whether that's through television, like for example with Blue Planet, seeing how David Attenborough used Blue Planet to like raise awareness on like plastic pollution, definitely did a lot of encouraging the general public to take action. So I feel like that's where I see myself and the podcast in the future. So whether that is working with a sustainable company to promote and highlight sustainable practices, whether that's promoting sustainable organizations, whether that's in itself just pick up the mic like a full-fledged business, and using that to encourage individuals to start their own businesses and offering advice and whether it's to do podcasting or content creation. I just feel like the skills that I've learned through the podcast, and not even just the skills, the individuals that I've met, like I've always said that like every guest speaker that we've had, like whether it's main series, any of our additional content, even if it's people that I just like met through like on LinkedIn or whatever, and they've said they want to be on, they all have like an interesting story, an interesting perspective, which is like something that you'll basically never get if you didn't do it. So that's why I feel like even like the conversations that I have with individuals, like even learning about I've learned about so many fields, so many topics, learned so many new things in the space of like a year. So essentially for me, it's just keeping up the future. It's just keep on doing the podcast, seeing where it goes. Just essentially trying to get more guest speakers and host, hopefully, more events. So doing more events, whether it's in person or online, whether they're like socials or whether they're like focused around topics or networking or live podcast recordings, things like that. That's my answer.
And so you would say that's going to still fit in with where you'd want to go career-wise? I mean, you're doing a master's, right? So you probably have some plans around that, or at least I don't know, some people maybe use certain things they've done to help them with their course. I'm not sure how, but
no, that's true. With Pick Up the Mic, so the head of my course basically was a lecturer he was a lecturer when I was doing my undergraduate, and one of the key things that I think I really appreciated was that he basically, so we had a project, I guess, and I'll like try and be as quick as possible about this. So we had a project that basically you had to figure out a way to improve sustainability, whether it was on campus, in your local community, or like you're just raising awareness on an issue. So for that, you were basically told like you can do whatever you want. So if you wanted to like design a product, to improve sustainability, and you were going to sell it, go ahead. If you want to start up a campaign, go ahead. Like you can do whatever you want. For me, I basically was I started a sustainable fashion thing with my sister called New Generation, which basically looked at like encouraging young people to not feel that like sustainable living or sustainable clothing was bad or like was something that they couldn't do, because we were just like, as individuals, there's like a tendency when you hear like, oh, this is a secondhand top, or like, this is a hand me down from my dad or from my brother. Sometimes people feel like, that, oh, that's weird, or like, that's not cool. Like, oh, it must be because the person can't afford it. When actually, sometimes it's just like, well, no, it's just like, my dad had a nice shirt. I didn't really feel like buying a new shirt. And I felt like, well, if you're not going to wear it, I'll wear it. And it's just simple things like that. So essentially, I did that for my first and second year. And the reason why I relate is because now, so when I graduated last year, I always knew I wanted to do a master's. The reason being is because I just felt, I always knew I wanted to do this master's, I should specify. The reason being is because people who've done my master's went on to start businesses and stuff. So that was one thing. So I was just like, clearly there is a track record of success. It's not like, I'm not saying everyone on my course started a business. I'm not saying that everyone who started a business, it was easy for them, or, it wasn't, they didn't have to put in a lot of work. But I think for me, it just showed that being on the course could give me some skills, some knowledge. Because obviously, like I said, I come from an environmental background. So when it comes to like things to do with entrepreneurship and especially design, I am not an expert. But I was just like, doing the masters would help me to know that, because I think one of the things when it comes to startups is there's that tendency for you to like throw money sometimes when you don't necessarily need to. So whether it's, like you want to get like a professionally made logo, but you want it to be really nice. So like you were saying of, you go on Fiverr and you pay for it, or whether it's, you want to promote your page, so you're trying to find ways to promote your page, and you might be paying to, whether it's an online course or you're paying an individual to like promote your page on their story. And I just feel like, yes, all of this is good. These are good things you can do. But if you could learn those skills, that's money that you're essentially saving. Or even if you could get someone, to do it for you for free, and you'll showcase them. You'll be adding to their portfolio. That's always good too. So I think for me, it's kind of helped me to like learn more about like, what if I was to start a business today, like what do I need to do? How do I need to, like, what do I need to have essentially before I start? What do I need to do as I run this business? What do I need to, like, obviously I feel like everyone knows that like you need more money coming in than going out to be successful as a business, obviously, but it's like, depending on what you're doing, depends on like how that works. So, if, you're doing like selling a product, that's a lot easier than a service-based business. Because, especially if you're not like a consulting service-based business, it might be harder for you to figure out like, how am I going to actually bring in money? But I feel like my course has helped me to learn that. I think one of the things, and yeah, this will be the last thing, one of the things during my undergrad that I feel like I didn't really do was use the Entrepreneur Hub. I think my main reason for that was because when I first heard about them, I think I was just a bit like, oh gosh, like I need to come with like a full-fledged business plan. I need to like show projections of like how things would go. I basically thought like it would be like Dragon's Den. Like if these guys were going to help me, I'd need to come with like the best idea ever, show that actually, I've thought about like my revenue and all this. And to be honest, like from now doing it, that like, yes, if you've got that, that's great. Like, I'm not saying don't do that if you can. But I was just like, so yeah, I'd like to pick up my mic into a full-fledged business. How do I do that? And they were just like, they've offered advice. They've run like workshops, which have been really helpful to like learn how could I, build up my business model canvas? How can I, stand out? Even like they did quite a few videos on like content creation. So like, how do you make your video stand out? What are the do's and don'ts when it comes to recording videos? And that stuff's been great because it's helped me with other stuff. So like, one example would be the video one was talking about like, as like, how do you sit in the video frame? Are you bang on in the middle? Are you at the side so things can appear, stuff like that? And that's very important because when it comes to interviews, especially with a lot of interviews being online, you need to think about how you look, how you dress, but also your non-verbal communication. Do you seem interested in what you're talking about? Are you attentive? Are you, if the interviewer was they're not there in the room, so even if you're in person, you're very good at like showing your engagement, now that you're online, they might be like, how are you really showing that, you're interested in the stuff that you're talking about, that you're engaged in the stuff that you're talking about, that you're helping, that you're like, how do you show you're the perfect candidate? So I think that it's, and again, like I said, I'm not saying like, you're not doing a master's. I'm not saying that everyone has to do a master's. But I think for me, it was just when I did my undergrad, I was just like, yes, it's good to like get this environmental knowledge, but I want to get knowledge on like entrepreneurship and design so I can figure out how to like start a business. And I was just like, doing this course will help me. And it has, because obviously like I've been able to, pick up the mic, I guess, was started beforehand, but it's helped me to like refine what pick up the mic is. So having like a clear vision, a clear mission, like defining stuff in our business model canvas, which I think personally, I would have said probably I would do, but obviously like with being even like I would be working at this time, so I would have a full-time job and I probably wouldn't be able to do a lot of this content creation on the side. But having this like uni experience has helped me to basically fledge and like essentially learn stuff while I go along. So some of the stuff like I've used in my, like, whether it's like stuff we've had to watch for class or even just like stuff I found on Instagram or YouTube to help me like pick up the mic, has helped me with assessments. Like we've had video assessments where, you have to make your video like interesting to the assessor because, they're looking for certain things. So I think for me, that's been it. So the skills that I've learned as a basis for just creating content for Pick Up the Mic have helped me to develop new skills. Like I didn't know anything about Adobe Premiere Pro or Premiere Rush before, but now like I can use it to I'd say like an intermediate. Like I'm still learning, but I can export videos. I can add effects. I can add transitions. I can add like customized animated stuff to it as well. So that's why I've always said that I personally have really appreciated everything that my course has done. Like I said, a master's, I know for 100%. Every time I mention a master's, I always say that people think that it's easy, and it's definitely not. It's definitely not easier than an undergraduate, but I feel like it's not like when you do it and you come out, depending on the course that you do and how much you like that course, you'll come out and be like, wow, like I feel like I've learned. I feel ready to take on the world. So yeah, that would be my answer. It's given me skills that essentially are transferable. So if I was to work, I've like got options open now. So yes, I can still go down the environmental route, but I can also now go towards like media and content creation. Yes, I like could go down the environmental route, but I could also go down the events management route because I've had to manage events that, I've essentially started from scratch. So I've had to market them. I've had to find venues. I've had to contact people, this and that. So yeah, I think that it's just like the transferable skills. And I've always said that the transferable skills, and maybe we'll do an episode on it. But yeah, the transferable skills you get from starting like your own thing is something that you can never, like you'll always appreciate.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. Very in-depth answer. Thanks a lot.
Oh no, thank you. And yeah, so I guess we're officially at the end here. Like I said, to be honest, I really like that question at the end, Curtis. Definitely put me on the spot. But yeah, like I said, I really do enjoy content creation. I guess before we end, I feel like because I did mention content creation, I should give a few shout outs before I end the episode. So I guess the first there's like 3 off the top of my head that I'd like to give a shout out to. So the first one is a person called Modern Millie. It's her Instagram handle. I think it's also her YouTube channel, but she does like content creation stuff. Personally, for me, I like watching stuff on YouTube, but also sometimes I get turned off like if the video is too long. So like if the video if it's a podcast, that's different because you can play in the background. You don't necessarily need to see what's on the screen. If it's a video where you need to be engaged, especially if it starts to get a bit too long, I sometimes just like check out. But I really like she like all the stuff she says on her videos are really informative and have really helped like what essentially developing like what Pick Up the Mic and all the other entrepreneurial stuff I do. Essentially like what they do and like how it works. It's been really good. But also I really like that she understands that like as an individual, you might not necessarily have all the time in the world to like watch stuff. So she puts like chapters on her videos. So she says like, if you're interested in learning about I don't know, like this tip. So she does like tips on like how to boost your content on Instagram, for example. And then she might be like, oh, you know, if you're really interested in, you know, that part, just click on the chapter and then you can just start watching from there. You don't need to watch the whole video to get to that point or like try and find it. So yeah, so I really like that. Second is the Pod School, or the Pod Sound School. I think I got the name right. I think so. If not, I'll put up like a thing with the name, but essentially they're podcasters. I won't lie, to be honest, I recently found them and I need to watch more, but I really like some of the stuff that they've spoken about. So they were talking about like podcasting, especially I guess, so they were saying like language wise, so there might be some people who are afraid of podcasting because they're afraid, especially if they're not fluent English speakers, or English isn't their first language, they might feel like their accent might put them at a disadvantage. But I really like the videos they put out because they really encourage individuals to like get out there, try, you know, podcasting. You know, they offer tips as well on like content and how to boost it and things like that. So 100%, they're my second one. And then lastly is Buzzsprout. So those are the people that we upload our podcast to. And personally, like I said, I didn't know much about the world. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know anything really about the world of podcast before signing up to Buzzsprout. But I think one of the things I've really appreciated is one, their videos. So they have videos on like YouTube and Instagram that talk about like the different steps of like podcasting. So should you have a YouTube channel? You know, should you really be like recording in certain formats? What's the best way to edit your software? How can you record stuff remotely? Like essentially all the questions that you would have about podcasting, they've got videos, blogs, discussion, they have Q&As, and like it's been really good. Also, another thing that they do that's really good is they have like a Facebook community. So it's like a private Facebook community where you essentially are with other people that use Buzzsprout, and you can talk about things. So like if I am a Buzzsprout user and I want to know like, oh, you know, how is like the best way, or what should I include on my Buzzsprout page so people can find out more about my podcast? You can ask like other people. So I know I've helped other people with stuff like signing up to Apple Podcasts, because that can be a bit of a pain. But yeah, it's really nice to have like a community of other podcasters, because like I said, I don't have a podcasting background. I've never podcasted before doing this. So I feel like to just have a community where you can speak to people who, some of them have been doing it for like years, some of them are also new to it as well, is always good. And then yeah, lastly, I think the key thing that they do is that they offer a lot of I mean, I'm not saying like the others don't offer realistic advice. That's probably one thing that all three of them really do, is just like offer realistic advice. So not saying like, oh, you know, if you're really interested in content creation, you know, you have to buy like the latest microphone, or you have to do this, you have to do that. No, they're just like, well, you know, if you want to, you know, if you've got a budget, then these are things that you could look into. And they do like reviews on stuff and stuff like that. So yeah, so I'll include the links below. So if people are interested in learning more, I think all three of them do have a YouTube page. So I'll try and include that in the video as well, so you guys can see and learn more about them. But yeah, those are the three that I would pick when it comes to content creation. But yeah, thanks everyone for being on the podcast and for watching the podcast today. It's been great to speak to you guys and learn more from you and also from Curtis. Yeah, I guess let us know in the comments if you are interested in starting your own content creation. Let us know also if you would like a content creation video, because we can see who we can bring on for that. Maybe we'll even bring on Curtis and some other people as well. But yeah, it's been great to hear from you guys as always. You know, we really appreciate all your support. And yeah, wishing you all a great day. Look after yourselves and speak to you all soon.